picture. One minute to forward, 1 minute.
Jo, 137,5 im Ziel. Kosten Amadeo Bagnes Sieg. Er kommt ins Ziel.
And we have a skeleton track.
Amadeo Bagnes, Sieg. Kommt ins Ziel. Der dritte Ausleger.
Bobsleigh in Czech, Wyatt, Button, what?
Bitte nur Kiel fahren, was gut.
Dann könnt zwei der Frank und die Silberung von der gehen. Der ist zu rein sowieso. Und der Abmarsch macht.
Lillehammer, 5 minutes to start, 5 minutes to start, and 3 minutes to start for the 400.
The fifth race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup. We are in the winter wonderland of Lillehammer in Norway, a double winter Olympic venue, the venue for the 94 Winter Games and the 2016 Youth Olympic Games, and the first Skeleton World Cup race here since 2004. So it's been a long time away. We do have former World Cup racers on this track in our field, not in the men's field but in the women's field, but we'll get to them later. what about this Norwegian track? Well, it's not high in the air like St. Moritz was a couple of weeks ago, last time we raced. It's got a very short, very steep start though, so explosive power from the get-go is critical. Craig Thompson has the start record here, not for World Cup races, but in Europa Cup and ICC races, which have been here in the last few years. It gets busy very early on. Pressures are low in the first few corners. That's corner 4, this is 5, then Omega corner 6. A double pressure right-hander, then into the upper labyrinth, corner 7, 8 and 9. Again, not massive speed here, not massive pressure. Into corner 10, big sweeping left, followed by 11, which has got a tricky exit into corner 12. Important to keep the speed there as you come down into 13. And then this little right-hander leads you up into the finish corners. Big 2.5 pressure, corner 15, and then into 16, the final turn, and across the line. Long, gradual incline up to the finish area. And the POV there courtesy of Olympic champion Maja Pedersen, who lives here and is forerunning on the track this weekend. Well, our World Cup points leader is Jung Seung-gi of Korea. He has raced here on this track before. Very few have, but there are a number who have come here for pre-season training. The track is iced up from October every year, the earliest track to be iced because of the colder temperatures here. And although the daylight is a bit lacking in the middle of the winter, there is still plenty of ice. So lots of younger sliders will have been here in the junior categories, but not too many of our experienced World Cup front runners have seen this track before. Well, men like Christopher Groothaar there have very little experience. Craig Thompson, the Brits have been here a number of times, particularly the development programs led by Mark Wood, and again then with the Chinese athletes. Their young athletes all came here to learn early in the season, to spend 2 or 3 weeks here, and quite a number of the development programs. The Spanish kids have all spent 2 or 3 weeks here, and so have a number of the others. But for some of the athletes, in fact probably a decent percentage of our field, this is real virgin territory, and for the coaches too. Well, Hunter Williams is the first man off, his second World Cup race of his career, and he's going to be the man that gives us some idea of what is going on with the track. And I'm delighted to have somebody who's got even more first-hand knowledge of the track, because he is just being one of our forerunners, joining me in the booth this morning. So welcome to Nick Turner. Nick, what's the ice like this morning? We can see the snow's just fluttering down gently, but there's a roof all the way down the track, right?
Yes, there's a roof all the way under the track, but there is snow falling. If there is some wind, I would say if you are an athlete on the track, I would get on that line, and right when you hear that green buzzer go, you get going.
Well, that's exactly what Hunter Williams has done. 4:81 is the start time. Start record is a 4:64. So
Hunter really has been practicing on his start the entire season. He's been working with our start coach, Kenny Howard, as well. Came from the Chinese and the Brit program on top of that.
Yeah, so Kenny will know this track as well from his junior career. So where are the key elements early on? It seems that it doesn't build speed that quickly, so you've just got to be as neat and tidy as you can, right?
Yeah, so really the biggest part of this track, I would say, would be 6 through 10, the labyrinth, as well as 13 through 14. You really want to get those entrances, those mid-early entrances, and you really want to sink into that sled and let the gravity take over.
That was the one little straight we just saw there, out of 15, through into corner 16, and across the line. So 52.37. And we've got an absolutely mammoth field today. 37 starters in the men's field. 25 go through into the second heat, which still means almost a third of everybody who starts the first heat isn't going to get a second heat. So we've got 12 who won't get a second heat. But well, there you see Matt-Antoine, the coach in the background. He's never slid here.
No, he is not.
There was a World Cup race before he started, and his career ended before the next one.
Yes, but, you know, ever since Matt took the job as our head coach, I really see our program taking off. Nice smile from Hunter.
Everybody.
Great haircut as well.
Yeah. Going for the John Daly haircut. Next up for Belgium, young Colin Freeling, 21 years of age. He has raced here. Now, again, some of the younger athletes do know the track. He raced here in Europe Cup, in the Intercontinental Cup, and in the Youth Olympic qualifiers, not for the 2016 games, he was much too young then, but for the 2020 Youth Olympics.
His father was also a bobsled pilot, so sliding really comes in their family.
Yeah, his father is the president of the Belgian Federation. Out of the start area, there's a little bit of snow there, a little bit of snow here. There's no wind really, so there's not much on the rest of the track.
Late entrance in 3 as well. A little bump down. See if you can get it back together here. Good form there, feet are together, elbows are in.
Yeah, he burst appendix after the race in La Plan and then went straight to hospital in Innsbruck rather than racing then. So he's rejoined the World Cup circuit in St. Moritz 2 weeks ago.
He's been working with the British program on top of that all week, so they produce winners and hopefully he can put something together here as well.
Good speed, he's bringing it back to a quarter of a second back. Very good speed at the bottom, 1:27.0. Little hit between 15 and 16, 400s in the lead. And you know, at this level of experience, both him and Hunter Williams, that 400s, that could be the difference between making the cut and not making the cut. And that's such a big mental thing. So 5:09 the start. He's still not, you know, appendix isn't a massive scar, but it's still, you know, in your abdominals, particularly in this sport, that's a big hit, isn't it?
It is, and although he had some small mistakes at the top of the track, he really got it together at the bottom and finished strong there.
Well, he's got experience on this track. I was just looking at some of the women's field we'll see this afternoon. Some of the sliders have actually had more races here than they've had anywhere else, which is quite remarkable. Next up from the Czech Republic, Timon Drahanovský, only the second World Cup start for Timon. He was here in the Youth Olympic qualifiers for the 2020 games, and he raced here in Europe Cup and ICC as well. Just 20 years old now. Made his debut in La Plan in France just before Christmas.
Very young lad. It's his papa is the one who's holding his sled here, so it's a family affair.
And it's good to see Czech Republic, who've had Anna Fernstedt in World Cup for the last 4 or 5 years, with a growing program behind them. 5 flat start, so just 900s in front of Colin Freeling, our current leader.
That's a PB for Timon. He really has been dominating training as well this whole week. He took a couple days off to rest and he came back and was even faster. Look at those feet together, keeping everything tight.
Quite a few athletes came straight here from St. Moritz to spend last week training as well.
Coming out of the labyrinth. Into 10. Middle into 11. Here comes another double pressure.
Best speed we've seen so far. He's 3/10 up.
A little bit of a tap coming out. Good entrance in 14.
And this might end up putting him into the second heat as well. 51.96, so the first sub-52 slide we've seen. The all-time record is 51.3. It looks relatively happy, doesn't it?
Tell you what, that's a PB, and dare I say it, I think there will be a couple track records today.
Yeah, well, there should be, because some of them are quite old. Start record of Craig Thompson back to 2017. The year after the Yog here.
Nice job, Timon.
Well, that's great stuff. Again, for a developing program.
Ooh, look at that right hand. Almost missed a saddle, but he got it together. Tell you what.
Great indication of how close you are between success and disaster.
Yeah, isn't that right? But he got it together down towards the track. A little bit of a late exit of 13. As you can tell by his body movement, he really sunk into that sled. There you go, Timon.
And you could tell how confident this was. His shoulders were way down, his head was way down. Let's see what Yinsheng of China can produce. 30th World Cup start for last year's push world champion. And again, in his junior career, he will have come here as one of his training camps. So he has some knowledge of the track.
The Chinese cheetah, they call him.
471. So still a 10th away nearly from the start record.
He's on a Dirk-made sled as well. Dirk came from the German program.
Yeah, Dirk mentioned, I wonder if, I didn't ask him, I wonder if he did slide here. There are a number of the coaches that did.
Nice entrance.
Half a second up. This is a good looking run, isn't it?
13.
Well, speed is good as Timon Drahanovský, but he's got a little bit of time in hand. Half a second up, 51.43. So we are 1300s away from the track record.
Oh, we're creeping in, Martin. We're creeping in.
Yep. The first 3 sliders are outside the top 15 in the World Cup rankings, so they're not expected front runners necessarily, but fresh ice never hurts, apart from in St. Moritz.
I'll tell you what, the track crew here really have been working their tails off night and day to make sure that we have the top-notch ice from EC all the way up to World Cup, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this race, and I hope you are too.
I'm super excited. I've never been here in my life, never been to Norway in my life. So, and I started doing this in 2000, 2001. I've never commentated on a race from this track. So it's a whole new world for us, yeah.
It's a bit cold, huh?
Well, last week it was a bit cold, yeah, -17, -18. Yeah, today about -2. Now then, we've just seen Yin Cheng. What about Chen Wenhao? 17th World Cup start. His first medal was in a bronze medal in Innsbruck last season. He took a silver in Beijing to start this year off. Hasn't quite matched that pace since we left the Chinese home track.
He's been really dominating training as well, so I'm very excited about his run. He'll steer into 1.
476, just 500 slower than his teammate.
Good line into 3. Up and out into 5.
So far, Chen is behind his
Look at the waves there.
This track seems to have the sort of nature of a little bit of a glider's track rather than a real steering track.
Correct. You really want the sled to do the work. I've heard from a great slider of come race day, the sled is much smarter than you. Let the sled do the work.
Yes.
His head popped up right when the gravity released. He really wants to sink into the sled here.
2300s back. Only the 4th best speed. Working too hard. Cutting a little too much ice with the runners. 2500s back. 51.68. Right, that leaves him in 2nd place at the moment, a quarter of a second ahead of Timon Dranovsky.
Tell you what, man, you really need a snow plow in this exit here, this outrun. A little bit of snow right at the exit of curve 16 to slow you down, and then you go under that bridge there, and then you start picking up some more speed.
Speed up again.
Yeah.
It's quite a long, gradual uphill rise. So Chen Wenhao making it a Chinese 1-2 at the moment. This track drops away from the start so early, doesn't it?
Yeah, so usually it's about a 14 to 16 step into the load, and obviously you cut that in half in your outside foot. There has been some struggles with the groove all week, a little bit of bumpy, so when the athlete takes their hand off the sled, sometimes it does bump up. But the track crew, again, man, they really got everything together.
5 down and 32 to go in the first heat of our World Cup race here in Lillehammer. 6 of our 37 starters. Felix Kaisinger from Germany, 30th World Cup start since he made his debut in Sigulda in December 2018. At a 474 getaway, just 300 slower than our current leader, Yin Cheng of China.
He had a really good result in Innsbruck, and speaking to him the past couple of days, he's really looking to continue that success into this track. He's really looking forward to this race.
Dropped out of the German World Cup team for nearly 2 seasons as he had a bit of a dip in his performance. But now that they've got a bigger quota in the World Cup, he's back in and making the most of it. Their speed and into the lead, Felix Kaisinger. Are we on track record speed yet? We might just be.
Oh, he's letting the energy do the work here, Martin. Take the hit, Felix.
Yep. Don't fight the sled too much. You've got to guide it as much as you can. Down through the final corner, he's behind, so 700's back. Well, the first half was looking good. I think he was on track record pace, and then it just slipped a little bit away.
On that run, you could really see his body jiggle with the sled. He's really harnessing that energy in and out of curves left and right.
He's such a nervous energy slider. He's going to be disappointed with that because it all got away. Yeah, there you go.
A little bit of a micro skid here.
And the problem there is the sled is starting to turn right and the corner is starting to turn left, and that's what really robs you of speed in that instance.
It really comes down to the sled setup, and I know the past couple of days with the temperature changing up and down, I've really had some athletes confused and coaches as well, but these are all world-class coaches and athletes, and I know we get things together.
Okay, next up, one of probably the more experienced athletes on this track, Marcus Wyatt. No races here officially, but lots of pre-season testing. A little bit of wind blowing snow into the groove. Let's see what he's got.
Oh, he popped the groove, Martin. See if he can sink into the sled and get things back. Come on, Marcus, you got it, lad.
Well, with a massive field like this, that is going to leave him in danger of potentially not making the second heat. And he still doesn't look like he's settled square onto the sled. Now he is.
Nice feet, good arms. Shoulders are pinning the sled.
So full second back. All that scrambling at the start to try and get onto the sled. Sixth best speed.
Good exit.
Is he going to be ahead of Hunter Williams and Colin Freeling? Oh, seventh at the line, slowest sled so far. I think he is in real trouble. 52.62. And you talked just a couple of minutes ago about that right-hand groove being the one that has caused problems. Almost everybody uses that because almost everybody's right-handed, and so they want to be in the middle of the track with the sled on their right.
And with that, your sled is really at an angle, and it's I mean, as a good thing, the sled is much higher, so you can get your knees under you. But as you can see right here, unfortunately, he does pop the groove.
Yeah, and that means that he's overbalancing, and then just trying to load onto the sled. Everything that you've rehearsed so many times has gone wrong. Yeah. And all the energy that you've put into the sled has gone.
I mean, whenever I see an athlete pop a groove, I always think back to Kim Boss last year when she was in Innsbruck, popped the groove, and I mean, you were commentating, man. She came back and did well.
It can be done, but in a field this big, it's going to be tough. World Championship silver medalist Amadeo Bañez now. 24th World Cup start for him. Willi Schneider, his coach, didn't race it. He had just retired before 2004, the last World Cup here.
Great start. In the offseason, he really dedicated his time and energy to pushing as well. If you can get out in first and you can just take the sled down and hopefully get the lead.
He's our most recent race winner, won gold in St. Moritz and took team gold as well with Valentina Margaglio. So what a weekend he had in St. Moritz.
So they went from top to bottom, the Italian program with Nick over in EC. They're really putting together a team.
500s off the leader, Yin Cheng. With the moderate temperatures we've got this morning, the track is going to hold up for quite a long time in this first heat, but it will gradually start to slow down for the later runners. Only the fifth best speed. And across the line in third place, 1400s back, 51.57. So we still have a Chinese, no we don't, we have Chinese 1-4. Yin Cheng leads from Felix Kaisinger and Amadeo Bañez. He clearly gels well with St. Moritz. Took a surprise silver medal in the World Championships last year there, and this year his first World Cup win and team gold as well with Valentina Margaglio. It's a different natured track.
You see the snow fall, and these athletes are going to jump on their sled as soon as possible. A little bit of strategy come down to the start as well.
You can see some of the snow being blown out by the draft. Now, the Italians came straight here from St. Moritz, so he's had some run repetition. But that's not always a good thing. I was saying to Valentina Margaglio, how well do you know the track? She said, maybe too well now. I'm inventing new mistakes. which is the problem. You start overthinking things.
A little bit like golf.
Yeah, there you go. Matt Weston next up. Slight delay there, it seemed, before the start. But here we go. Our world champion from last year. Winner in Innsbruck. Let's see what he makes of this. Nice clean load. He's popped the groove on occasion as well. 475.
Good push from his teammates. I heard he's the second fastest pusher in Corsham, which is hard to believe.
Corsham, a small town in Surrey, so yeah. Not quite sure who's the fastest pusher. Probably works in one of the supermarkets collecting trolleys. 900s back. Well, they struggled a little bit last weekend, all the British sliders. The setup wasn't quite right on there. Ducour's Guggenberger sleds. 1400s back, doesn't have the speed here either.
A little bit of a micro skid on the exit.
So hard to avoid the tap on the wall there on the sliders left.
I'll tell you what, man, I've felt it this entire month. It does not feel good.
2600's back in 5th place, 51.69.
Tell you what, man, this Matt Weston, he has ice in his veins, and I can see him coming back to Heat 2 much stronger.
Well, again, the humidity from the snow in the air makes the ice today very different from how it was in training on Wednesday. So the athletes have got to guess what's going to work, and you only find out how good your guess was when you're actually in competition.
That was a great last step for him. His toes are pointing forward. The last step should be your strongest, and your velocity should be the fastest out of that push. Little banana there.
Not the best. Run 2.
Oh, he's ready to go.
From Korea,
Yes, he
we
is.
have Seung-Ki Yoon.
10th of our 37 starters this morning is Jung Seung-Gi, our current World Cup leader. Gold in La Plagne, silver in Innsbruck, bronze in Samoritz. Those are his results from the last 3 races. An electrifying starter. 4:64 is the start record. 4:65.
Man, do I have chills. If you're wearing all white spikes, you know you're a good pusher.
Is that the equivalent of wearing yellow boots as a soccer player or as a punter? 4:65, great getaway, fastest we've had so far. And he's just absolutely in fantastic form this year. He had a good season last year, but this is a whole different level of good. Second best speed, but still with a slender advantage over Yin Cheng of China.
Jeff Payne really has done a good job with this program as well.
6th best speed.
There you go, shooting it straight.
8th best speed, dropping away. So the setup not quite right. 1300s back, 51.56. Started 600s up, so he lost 2 tenths down the track. Now, he raced here in the Youth Olympic Games in 2016. That was his first major championship, finished in 8th place. The Youth Olympics were won by Russia's Yevgeny Rukoshchev, who is still competing, but only in Russia, obviously. Norway's Alexander Hengeston was the silver medalist.
Last step was a bit wide on there.
Yeah. That's always a potential drama, isn't it, when you're running bent over like that, that you just very slightly meander from the sled.
Next one, we have from Italy, Mattia Gaffari.
Robin Schneider of Germany took the bronze medal in the Youth Olympic Games. He no longer competes either. Yin Cheng, Felix Kaisinger, Jung Seung-Gi are top 3.
Uncle Willie there is his coach.
Yep, star draw number 11 for Mattia Gaspari. Raced here in the Intercontinental Cup in November 2022. Took 2 wins from 2 starts. So he'll be feeling good about coming back here.
Oh, he loves this track. Speaking to him as well, you know, he's really excited about this race.
And off a career best result 2 weeks ago, last race in Samoritz, 6th position. So he's starting to refine the form that he had before his appalling Achilles injury about 7 or 8 years ago. And with age and run repetition comes the experience and the knowledge to be able to adapt, and that's what he's doing here as well.
It's like fine wine, Mark.
4th best speed. Can he start bringing this back? He was only the 8th fastest starter.
You can hear the energy in his sled.
Across the line in 8th place, behind Timon Drahanovsky, but ahead of Colin Freeling. So 6600s back, 52.09. And he'll be looking for more in the second heat than he got out of that one, I think.
Hello from the snowy Norway.
It's just so much fun.
Make sure you bring your snow boots.
Yep. Well, and especially last week when everybody was training here in the bitter, bitter cold.
Lost a little bit of energy on that exit.
Yeah, trying to avoid the wall and gets a little skid instead.
We have
Tiny bit too long in 13. Let's fix the rest one.
You know, as wild as it sounds, sometimes it is smart to take that little tap and absorb the hit and just move forward.
It's trying to judge in that heartbeat which is going to be the more damaging. Craig Thompson next up, our start record holder, 464. We had a 465 from Jung. You know that Craig wants to leave with the record, and he can do that by lowering it, 474. Not got the speed this morning. He's had Europe Cup and ICC medals here as well. I'm sure he came here early in his career with Mark Wood. Everybody seems to have done.
As you were mentioning earlier today, the Brits came here for pre-season, so looking to see what Craig can put together.
The last couple of years, they've spent more time in Sigulda before the season. 700's back, though. This is a challenge for the lead of Yin Ching. Just a whisker behind Felix Kaisinger, but second best speed. And Ying did not have the best speed at the bottom, and Craig has all gone away. One big mistake, and suddenly the speed has vanished. And at the line, he's gone from second to seventh.
Started to drag his feet in 15. He could really feel the sled taken off from him.
Yeah. Again, like every high wire act, you're just one tiny mistake away from disaster, aren't you?
But that's what makes the sport fun, man. You never know what can happen, and you want to be present. You want to live in the moment, and you want to see what happens.
There's again the skid. And then here, out of 13.
Craig Thompson, a massive Newcastle United fan as well.
Yeah. So he's not got it going his way at all, has he?
Early to 15.
Yeah.
That hit does not feel good either.
And the track is clear.
Plenty to think about for Olympic champion Christopher Grote here. Really inexperienced on this track. Raced here in the Intercontinental Cup in 2011. I bet he can't even remember what his haircut looked like in 2011. Never mind what a track was that he's not seen for 12 years. 481.
But if there's one man to do it, it is him.
Yep. He does seem to have that German ability to find speed out of some kind of inner piece. 10th back at the start, 1700's back now.
Look at his form. A little bit of a late exit.
So this labyrinth is quite long and slow, isn't it? It's no Koenigsegg where you whip from one to the next.
No, it's a little bit like of a ballroom dance. You really want to flow with the energy and let the sled do the work.
Takes the hit, but a little bit of footwork going on as well. Still the best speed. He's closing on leader Yin Cheng of China. This is the Olympic champion across the line, 100th back.
His teammates on the side, they call him Mr. Patty because he cooks very good burgers when they're in the plant.
Oh, does he?
So if you see him, call him Mr. Patty.
All right, well, he's got a career after as a short order chef then, hasn't he? And he can hang his Olympic medals in the back of the diner and flip burgers all day. You see just swivel of the hips. He was just trying to avoid the skid and the hit at the same time.
A bit early is there as well.
Yeah.
But man, his form is impeccable. So you can see him dropping that left toe.
From Korea,
And a rarity, a German who can actually relatively start a sled. Next up, Kim Ji-soo of Korea. No top 6 finishes since Innsbruck in February 2023 in his World Cup career. This is now his 38th World Cup start.
2018 Olympian in Pyeongchang.
He's to find a little bit of 23-24 pace. Good start, 471, so ties the start of our current leader, Yin Cheng of China. Top 3 sleds currently covered by 700ths of a second, so it's a very tight lead group.
A little bit of a late exit.
And that bumper's knocked the speed out the sled down to 10th best.
Nice line out of 10 into 11, coming into double pressure 12. A bit high.
whipped off there, didn't he? And again, there's not much time to correct there. When you're late in the first one, then you're late 2 or 3 corners in a row.
Yeah, whenever you have a mistake in a corner, you really want to look back 2 or 3 corners and see what happened.
52.14. That leaves him 71 hundredths off the lead.
Again, man, sometimes it comes down to the sled setup, and this weather is not helping.
Again, you saw those mistakes down below 11. You start whipping off corners late, hitting the wall, having to skid and drag the toes to correct. And suddenly all the speed vanishes.
A bit of a flop, a little tap into 13, bumped him down. The pressure's going to take a hold of you right there.
Yeah.
You don't want to fight the pressure because the pressure's just going to push you around.
And you saw the skid going in, legs just drifting uphill. And again, that leads him into the late exit. Yeah, shake of the head. That's one that gets away. Next up, Sammy Meyer. Now, he is the top youth Olympic finisher from 2016 in our field. He finished in 6th in the Youth Olympic Games, 2 spots ahead of Jung Sung Gui. 481 getaway.
Good line in 3. Double pressure 4. Want to get out early into 5. Get up and out from 5 into 6. Small double pressure in 6. Flat curve through the labyrinth.
Sammy and brother Benny, both youth Olympians, mid-teens. Sammy was just 16 here in the Games in 2016. Nice looking lines.
Great line, Sammy.
And into the top 10, 5th best speed. Who's he going to be ahead of? Is he going to catch Craig Thompson of Great Britain? He does. He is in 8th place. And he has a really good first heat under his belt.
Coached by Andy Schmidt.
Yeah, Andy Schmidt raced here in 2004 in what might well have been his very last season on ice.
A bit out of breath.
Yeah. Not in the same way that the out of breathness stays with you in St. Moritz, where 10 minutes later you're still panting because the air's a lot thinner.
I love when he loads that slide and he pins it down with his shoulders. Looks by his hand motion a bit skiddy.
Yeah. And that's a factor perhaps of the snow. A little bit of snow just lubricates the track. Yinqing of China, still our leader, 15 sleds in. 51st World Cup start for Ukraine's Vladislav Heraskevich. 8th here, tied with Jung Sung Gui in the Youth Olympics in 2016. And his nephew, Yaroslav Lavenyuk, who we have seen in the World Cup already, just took silver in Pyeongchang in the boys' skeleton, youth skeleton. So the next tier is still coming and already has Youth Olympic medal under his belt. So going to see that. It's a 5:01 start for Vlad.
They really put together a good program in Ukraine, and Vlad is really leading the way.
His dad, Mikhail, who's the coach there, was saying that it's Mikhail's older brother, who's 20 years older than him. It's his grandson. So, yeah, it's not a cousin, it's actually a nephew of Vladislav, I think. So. 10th best speed. And again, you talk about form. Vlad holds his form no matter how much the hits hurt. 6th best speed, and that's really paying off here.
When I was talking to Vlad, nice line out of 13, he was mentioning that the way he learned sliding was in Sigulda, and he would tape the bottom of his helmet to make sure his form.
Yeah.
It's quite scary, if I would say so myself.
Well, you see that a lot in luge, where there's a thin band of tape, and you look under it to keep your head back out of the airstream. And I mean, he said exactly what all the Latvians say. If you learn to slide in Sigulda, you're not scared of anywhere, because you've taken all the hits there are. 12th place, 52.13. That's a good first run from Vladislav Heraskevich as well.
I mean, it looks to me that I think the track might be slowing down because of the weather.
I think quite possibly. When did Christopher Grotehair go down? That was only 3 sleds ago, so...
That's true.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what a couple of the others can produce, but...
Look at that line out of 13.
I think we're now looking at predominantly a 10 to 25 battle to stay in the field. And our next combatant, contender ready, Yan Wengang of China, the Olympic bronze medalist. This is his 30th World Cup start. Bronze in Beijing to start the season, his World Cup best result. 474, that's a quick getaway, that puts him right in the frame.
Nice exit into 3. Sorry, entrance into 3. Into 4. See if you can keep the waves together here in 6. A little bit of wavy. Through the labyrinth.
Third best speed, still only 700ths of a second off the lead. Top 3 covered by 700ths. It's got podium potential. Third best speed.
Great form. Drop the toe.
Yep.
Take the tap.
Bit of snow there as well. Just taking a whisker off the top speed. Ooh. Cross the line, 4th place. Top 4 covered by a 10th. He's ahead of Jung Seung-gui, the points leader. Big smile from Patrick Singleton there. That's a very strong run.
Say what, man, run heat 2 is going to be a good time in here. And I'm excited to sit next to you for that.
Well, it's always like sudden death when we get down outside the top 20, and then we've got 17 sleds fighting for 5 places in the race. But that's good. That was the one mistake, and that little bit of fallen snow, that just slows you right down as well.
Good for him for taking that tap and keeping the form, because you just want to sink into that, take the hit, minimize the skids, keep the speed moving forward.
See, track workers are doing a great job of keeping the snow right to the very edge of the corner. So really good run from Yan Wengang. Well, next up, Germany's 26-year-old Felix Seibel, only the 5th World Cup start for him. Winner week by week of the Best Beard in Skeleton Award. Raced here in ICC in 2022, so he has got relatively good knowledge. Team bronze medalist in St. Moritz. His first ever World Cup medal with teammate Jacqueline Pfeiffer. 484, so that leaves him a 10th behind the leaders.
You know, speaking of him at training, the one thing that really brought my attention was his mustache, and I asked him about it, and he said he has a mustache to pay homage to D'Artagnan from the Three Musketeers.
Well, and that's exactly what he's channeling, isn't it? You know, I don't know who Athos and Porthos are, but he's definitely got that going. And only 300ths off the start of teammate Christopher Grote here, who currently lies 100th off the lead in second, and this, not quite so quick, 2400ths back, but bringing it back, best speed of all. How close is he going to be?
Shoot it, yep.
10th covering the top 4, best speed of anybody. 1.5 kilometers an hour quicker than Grote here, and the lead at the line. That's the way to do it. 51.34, 400ths off the track record in the snow.
My heart was racing towards the end of that track, because I'll tell you what, Martin, I think there will be a track record today.
He just nailed those. He nailed those fast corners down below corner 9 and 10.
Great mustache.
Yes, he does.
You ever have a mustache, Martin?
I can't grow a mustache. I can grow a goatee, but I haven't had one for 15 years, so.
A little bit of an early entrance there.
Yeah. Just drifted out there, but he didn't have the skid going in that we've seen so many. And here, look how clean he was here as well.
His form is impeccable.
If you want a video of how to get off there, off 13, then that's it.
You don't want to stay on a corner too long, because then you'll start having to pay rent now, Martin.
Yep. All right. So, what about Axel Jung? What can he produce? Our Olympic silver medalist. Didn't race in Beijing. 13th in La Panne, 7th in Innsbruck, 9th in St. Moritz, 4.80 the start.
You know, I talked to him in training as well, and just like Felix, he also has a mustache, but it was a little bit of a different story. His mother's favorite singer was from Queen, and she has passed away, so he has a mustache to pay homage for his family and his mother.
So he's got the Freddie Mercury mustache in memory of his mum. 900s up, a 10th up. Well, if Axel's going to turn his form around, then using his experience on a track that he doesn't know well could be the time to do it. Second best speed. out there just to check the line and
Line
again.
out of 13 into 14. Nice line into 15.
Speed's good, line's good. He's going to have the lead. Is it a track record? It is not a track record. He does have the lead, but he is tied. Wow. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 sleds covered by a 1/10 of a second, and nothing measurable between our leaders, Felix Seibel and Axel Jung. And 4 of the top 5 are German sliders. I think they may have got their setup spot on this morning. And Kaisinger made mistakes, and Grotehair made mistakes. But the last couple, Seibel and Jung, spot on.
A dead tie in Sport of Skeleton.
Yep.
I might have to go buy some lottery tickets after this race.
We love those. Yeah, they might be downstairs having to find some more medals. This rate, big smile there.
Thanks for supporting me.
Always got to give love to the sponsors.
You definitely do. Jacob Salisbury now from Great Britain. 5th World Cup race for Jacob. Raced here in the ICC in 2022. Did not make the podium. Let's see what he's got for us this morning. 4:69.
Great push athlete. Over the summer, he really lives inside that weight room. He cleans 165 kgs.
Wow. So former swimmer turned slider. 2300s up. Wow.
Last couple of years, he's really moving through the EC and the ICC circuit to put him in a good placement for the World Cup circuit.
Now the speed has gone away, only 15th best speed, and the lead has gone from 18 to 900s of a second. 10th best speed, he's not going to be the leader at the line. Relatively clean at the bottom though. But where is the speed? It's a little bit like in Samoritz where the speed dropped out of the sleds. 9th at the line, 3200s back from 2300s up. 51.66 run for 28-year-old Jacob Salisbury. My maths was bad. The last couple of weeks I'd be saying he was only 18. He looks like he's 14, but 28.
He could be in the Youth Olympic Games.
Yeah. Okay, not too much to write home about in terms of mistakes on the run. You didn't see really big mistakes, and still the speed just...
Rather clean run, but it makes you really think what's under the sled and if they have the right setup for today.
I think they generally accepted that they got the setup wrong in Samoritz. It was the same with Richard Bromley with Kim Marmont and Nicole Silveira. He put his hands up and said, got the setup completely wrong, and if you've got the wrong runner on, then it just doesn't work so well. It's like having dry tyres on a wet track or vice versa. 20 sleds down, 25 go through into the second heat. We have 17 more competitors. First up from nearby Denmark, Rasmus Johansson, silver medalist here in the Junior Worlds at the beginning of this month. 9th in the Youth Olympic Games 2020 in Samoritz. He's one of our youngest athletes.
His sister Nana finished 4th in the Youth Olympic Games as well. And a silver from the recent Junior Worlds. He actually held the track record for, I think, all of 2 minutes before Lucas took it from him.
That's often the way on a track record day. You hold it on your run and then somebody else comes along. Lucas Neidegger is the track record holder. Again, one of the German B-Carder athletes that we haven't seen in World Cup yet. 4th best speed and still in the green, Rasmus Johansson, by not much, but
good.
Listen, when you're starting 21st to be in the lead, the track is still giving speed.
He has such a bright future.
Wow, look at that. Top 6 across the line, 51.52.
Oh, the Germans are happy. Nice run, Rasmus.
Well, the Germans got their setup right, and they clearly didn't steer him wrong either.
Yes, man.
Good for him. Keep going strong, Rasmus. You're going to have a bright future, sir.
Yeah. Nice lines, drove it well. And the setup worked. It's a long skid there, but just wriggles it back on line.
Hard line, dog.
There's a happy bunny. Next up, Austin Florian in the US, and he will be in the booth to cover the women's race this afternoon. So looking forward to having him in.
Phenomenal starter. Watch those first 4 steps. He could push a car through snow.
39th World Cup start. Still think of him sort of in my head as one of the newer athletes in the World Cup Tour, but he's among the more experienced now. 4:77 getaway, just 700s ahead of the leader. Now that advantage will play out over the next few curves. You can see that the low roof here really keeps the snow out until you get low down.
Look at his form. This is also his first time here as well.
Well, form is good, but the speed, that's correct, has dropped away from 300s up, 1300s back. But doing well to be in the top 15 at the end of the run. And that's going to be a disappointing run, I think, for Austin Florian. He was doing all the right things, but it just wasn't producing the speed that he wanted. Now, of course, what happens within the US team is that they will have a conference about what they did this morning, what they set up, and then talk to the female sliders for this afternoon. But then the weather will be different, the temperature will be different. It may have stopped snowing, maybe less humid.
Yeah, I would say we really have a good team behind us with Matt Antoine as our head coach, Kenny Howard as a start coach, Caleb Smith as our development coach.
I saw Caleb. I said, what are you doing out of a vineyard? He's back.
Yeah, we call him Big Red.
Yeah. Well, again, there's not too much to critique on the run. A hit there, but so many have had that, and yet... There you go.
There's Hannah Belmont. She keeps the team together.
If the runner's not right, it's not going to work. Well, next up is Dan Barefoot, the 33-year-old in his 4th World Cup race. Raced here in 2022 in both Europe Cup and Intercontinental Cup.
One heck of a driver as well.
So this is where you go back to that knowledge and try and dig the memory banks for every little iota you can.
He trained here for a little bit of the preseason. He's also a Johnstown, Pennsylvania native. He was telling me earlier this week that this season would not be possible without his family and friends, and he used them as motivation.
Well, and that's always your single most important sponsor is the banker, mum and dad. You know, they're the ones that take you to training. They're the ones that fund everything when you're a kid, that get you into sport. Good exit. 12th best speed. He's hovering around 18th, 19th place at the moment. And across the line, 18th. So he's got 4 sleds behind it at the moment. He's tied with Vladislav Heraskevich, 400s behind Mattia Gaspari, and that's good company to be keeping in only your 4th World Cup race.
I actually live with him at the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid, and the time and dedication he puts into training, into education for other athletes, as well as the sled work, it really is the passion and the love that he shows that I hope grows our program to this date.
Well, that's all part of it. You know, it's such a relatively unknown sport that everybody who gets in here, we always say you're in it for the love, not the money, because there sure ain't no money. So it's that passion that bubbles out, and that's always great to see. And without that, you just wouldn't continue. Next up, Austria's Alexander Schlindner. He was here in the YOG qualifiers and then Europe Cup in 2017 in the lead up to the 2020 games. So again, a little bit of knowledge in some of these younger athletes that their maybe more senior teammates didn't have. Alex Auer, the coach, yelling them away. Big, tall athlete. You could imagine Alex Schlindner actually being poached by the bobsleigh team if the skeleton crew aren't too careful.
I asked him if he was a little nervous for this race, and he said no, he's just going to do it, quote unquote.
Yep.
Entering the labyrinth.
I think that's very much the way everybody feels about ice tracks, though. Is okay, let's get out there and have fun doing it.
Nice exit into 11, coming to 12, double pressure. Entering 13, another double pressure.
Chasing down USA's Austin Florian.
A little bit of a counter on the end, coming into 15. Look at that form, look at his feet. You can hear the sled, the vibration, the energy in the sled.
But you're not hearing scraping of the toes. 17th at the line, just behind Austin Florian, who's tied with Timon Drahanovski. So the early starters had a good run of it. Hunter Williams first out is in 23rd at the moment, ahead of disappointed Marcus Wyatt. I'm sure Marcus has packed his stuff in his kit bag and is accepting he's unlikely to make it into the race.
Want to get that elbow in. He was throwing a lot of pressure into that down steer with his right shoulder with a quick counter to stay away from that wall. I always love the clear visors. A little bit of a fishbowl, if you think about it.
Yeah. Manuel Schwerzer for Italy, 23rd World Cup start for him, and he is starter number 25 of 37. So when he finishes the run, 25 down, and the remaining 12 will have to knock somebody out.
Had a bronze last year in the Europa Cup. If you can bring that confidence into this track.
4.80, that's a strong getaway. And again, he's another tall, strong athlete.
A little early in 3. Got it back together. Good entrance into 5.
Still a slender lead from that early start into corner 6.
Through the labyrinth. 7, 8, 9.
Now is it 6 where all the speed is going away?
You know, Martin, I've been trying to figure that out myself.
It does look
13.
like it. If you're a bit wavy in 6 and you're having to steer too much, then suddenly you just take off half a kilometre an hour, and that's all it makes. But again, look, he's back down at decent speed at the bottom, at 36, 56 hundredths back. So he brought it back to 15th at the line. Marcus Wyatt is 25th. Schwerzer, I'm thinking, is definitely in. Dranovski and Austin Florian probably in. So Alexander Schlettner, Mattia Gaspari, currently 18th and 19th, are just at the tail of the danger zone.
Good load, you can see it bouncing around a little bit. You run the risk of popping, but he got everything together.
And in the super slow-mo, you can see how curved the runners are, how tiny the contact patch actually is. Here's some school kids for a day out at the track. That's always good to see. Indoctrinate them early. Most of their parents probably weren't around when the Olympic Games were here in '94. Okay, 25 sleds in and still 12 to go. So everybody now, it is go fast or go home. Florianau, rather, not Austin Florian. Florianau hasn't raced here since 2014. But Flo, let's see if he can make it into the race. He's a neat and tidy run because he's not going to have the fastest start, 4.94.
Comes from a family of sliders, his brother, as well as his father.
Yep. Brother's now coaching. He retired 4 or 5 years ago. He's done a stint in commentary as well. Alex Auer. So 20th spot on the splits right now.
Little flop off of 6.
13th best speed.
Nice into 9 through 10.
This is going to put Marcus Wyatt on the bus home. 10th best speed. So just ahead of Dan Barefoot and Vladislav Heraskevich. Ahead now of Mattia Gaspari, who looked like he'd had a pretty decent first run. And across the line, 19th place, 52 dead. So that's kind of where you need to be. If you're 52 and a little bit of change, you should be in the race. But we're going to be looking at probably hundreds of a second, making it or not making it. And that's as tough as losing a medal by that amount.
Nice exit out of 13. Through the long straightaway into 14. Great form. Just sinking into the sled and letting the sled do the work. Starting to see a couple athletes drop this left toe here through 15. Not sure if they're letting the pressure get a hold of them or just change their sled angle into 16 to stay low.
Next one up from Switzerland.
So, Florian Auer probably in our second heat. What about Switzerland's Vincent Buff? Middle of 3 sliding brothers, just 22 years old. Junior World Championship bronze medalist here 3 weeks ago. So very good recent memories of this track. 494, 22nd best start, but we've just seen off an identical start Florian Auer come in 16th, 18th place. So
one of the taller athletes on the circuit.
He weighs about 80 pounds wringing wet. He's long and lean, isn't he?
But if there's ever a top shelf in the house, I'll ask him to grab the top
That's
cup.
right, yeah. I'm sure his mum spends half her time in supermarkets offering his assistance to little old ladies. 3,300's back, so 21st spot at the moment. But look at the speed, it's good. The exit is clean. This is where he drives himself into the race. The form is excellent. And across the line, 15th. Track is still holding up, isn't it? Really well. Now, obviously, skeleton sleds don't degrade a track the way that a heavy 4-man bobsled does, but nevertheless, still get a top 15 speed out of it as the 27th sled. Marcus White out of the race as we expected. Hunter Williams out as well, unfortunately, and Colin Freeling on the bubble.
Great form. Heels touching, elbows locked, head is down.
And narrow shoulders really help as well because they reduce the frontal area, so being tall and thin definitely doesn't hurt.
I really loved how he pinned his shoulders on the exit of 13 there to minimize the gap of air.
Sharing.
Yeah,
Next to start,
he felt the love there, didn't he? So from Vincent Buff to teammate Livio Summermatter, Youth Olympic bronze medalist in St. Moritz 2020. He was here in the Youth Olympic qualifiers in 2016-17, raced in Worldcup and was 6th in the Junior Worlds here 3 weeks ago. 482.
Really doing a lot of work in and out of 2.
Like Vincent, it's only his 4th World Cup start. He knows this track well.
A little wavy in 6. A little flop off the 6, see if you can get it back through the labyrinth.
Strange high velocity vibration noise coming from the sled. Some things just loose and vibrating. 24th best speed at the moment.
Tap.
In the top 20 and back out momentarily. Hovering around Florian Auer, Mattia Gaspari territory. 25th just in the race at the moment at the expense of Colin Freeling of Belgium. 52.20. So we really are looking at 52 flat as an absolute minimum to give yourself a chance of making it in. Shakes his head. There was a strange noise coming from the sled.
Either he dropped the toe or a little bit early through that entrance.
And skids on the exit. There's the tap. Not a bad hit, but still more snow blowing up out of the track. All right, Livio Summermatter is in for the moment. What about Akwasi Frimpong from Ghana? What can he produce? 3rd World Cup start for him in his career, and the first African athlete to race here in the World Cup.
He has 2 daughters at home, Amai and Ashanti, and his wife Erica are watching.
They live in Salt Lake City. I'm sure he'll want to say hi to Zach Lund, former US slider who spent a lot of time working with Akwasi over the last few years. 482 getaway. And again, all of that fitness starting to come back.
Nice entrance in 3, coming into 4.
Former sprinter for the Netherlands in his youth career.
A bit late through 5. Big wave at the beginning of 6. Going through the labyrinth.
cover a lot of ground in 6 if you don't keep the line constant.
With 13, double pressure.
17th at the start, out to 28th spot at the moment. Speed isn't where he needs it to be either. Across the line, he's not making it through. 29th place with a 52.95.
One of my favorite things about Aquaz is he always brings the passion, the energy, and the love to the sport.
Yeah. Well, he realizes that there is a lot more than just one person having fun on ice. He's representing an entire continent here.
Well, everyone, thank you for watching. Appreciate it.
We've got some more new young nations developing skeleton programs, but also new younger nations and returning nations developing bobsleigh programs. So the sport is starting to gain more traction among the non-alpine countries.
Thank you for watching. Appreciate it. One love. Erika, Shanti, Maya.
A happy dad. Next up for France, Lucas Defaye. Raced here in ICC and Europa Cup over the last 2 or 3 seasons. Only the 8th World Cup starts and he pops through. And
he's going up backwards.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Now he's going to have to try and get on the sled because coming down from that stage without a sled, or even worse, backwards on the sled, just going to be a disaster.
It scared me a little bit, Mark.
Yep. I'm sure it scared him an awful lot more. And you start going backwards and the sled is uphill. Wasn't quite sure if he was just going to abandon the sled and just try and slow down on the ice.
Do the labyrinth, see if he can relax on the sled and try to put something together. A little late in 10, big wave.
Well, the problem now, he's got about half the speed that he's been used to in training, so any steers that he makes will assume that there's enough speed to carry him onto the corner, and there really isn't. Having said that, he's still doing 121 kilometers an hour, so no matter how bad the disaster is at the start, you still have to focus because self-preservation is an actual thing. You can get pretty badly hurt if you just aren't able to control the sled, but I've seen it. You know, we've seen sleds pop the groove. We've seen some pretty uncomfortable loads. This.
Oh, right there, right on the crest.
Yeah.
Coming down.
Well, he's lucky not to step on the sled, so he's trying to load now, but the sled isn't coming back straight, and in fact continues to go sideways.
Locks out his right leg to kind of turn it around. Hits this wall right here.
Yeah.
Sends it into a 360.
Whoa.
And the track is clear.
And that was very sketchy. I mean, man, Lucas, well done for getting on board. Now then, Blake Enzie for Canada, 22-year-old former speed skater. And he's got that build, 478. That's a big getaway.
Also a correctional officer part-time.
600s ahead of our current leader at the start. Gaps out to 700s.
He's quite relaxed on his sled.
Nice smooth line, no oscillation in 6 as well.
Through the labyrinth. A little bit of a late entrance.
1600ths of a second off the lead at the moment.
Not a bad exit to 13, 14.
Gap is growing 4/10 back. Should be inside the top 20 safely. 21st, 52.03. Again, not a run that looked like it had massive dramas in it, but the speed just ebbed away.
Young lad as well, really has a bright future in the sport. All the bobsled athletes are trying to recruit him, but I know he's not going anywhere.
Yes, I can imagine that.
I love how he pins his head down, and your shoulders have to follow.
He's got speed skater physique, hasn't he? He's a big unit. He is in, and
Mags. Squiddy, keep landing them planes.
Livio Sumamata is out. Kim Ji-soo of Korea is in the drop zone in 25th. Now then, who's going to push him out? Will it be Poland's Władysław Poliwak? Władysław in his third World Cup start. Lots of races here. I should have totted them up, actually. Definitely far more races here than he's done in World Cup in total. Was here in the Junior Worlds 3 weeks ago as well. Raced in La Plan and in Eagles. His best result, 30th spot in Eagles.
Old two-hand start.
Just to get it going.
See athletes jumping back to that left groove.
Yeah. 497 start.
Out of 4 into 5. 5 into 6, double pressure 6, flat curve here. Want to be patient. Entering 7 through the labyrinth. 8 into 9. Middle into 10. Double pressure 12.
It's a nice, smooth-looking run so far, isn't it?
Now, I believe he's been here for the past month or so. I think I competed against him for EC.
Speed 29th, he's outside the top 30 at the moment, and 31st across the line, 53.12, so no second heat for him, and at the moment, Kim Ji-soo clings on to a spot in 25th place. And we have 5 to go, including 4 debutants and somebody who we haven't seen for a long while.
I love when you say debutante, Mark. I love it. Gives me the chills.
Well, we got a lot of rookies, and we've got lots and lots of athletes in the field with only a handful of World Cup starts, and that's the much bigger fields that we've got now that the ICC, the second tier of sliding up until this season, has vanished.
That's phenomenal for the sport.
Yeah.
You know, we have so many young guys that are, and women as well, that are joining our sport.
And small nations are getting on TV as opposed to sort of being out in the boonies, which is great. So like Malaysia, for instance, World Cup debut for Jonathan Yaw, raced here twice in the Europe Cup. His top class debut was in the World Championships in St. Moritz last January. This is his first World Cup race, just 27, and the first time a Malaysian has started a World Cup in skeleton, 493.
He really said this year, he's dedicating his season to his grandmother, who recently just passed prior to Christmas. It's his first year on a Schneider as well.
Well, that's going to be a big conversion, because Willie sleds are different from a lot that younger worked on. Whoa, big oscillations. Wild ride. He's inside the top 30. But is he going to be quick enough to make it into the race? I don't think he's got the speed on board. Battling with Kwasi Frimpong, Władysław Poliwak, just behind Władysław Poliwak in 32nd place, 53.20. So congratulations to Jonathan Yaw on making his World Cup debut.
One thing about Jonathan, he's a great competitor. And wait until he pops the helmet off, you'll see a massive smile.
Only started in January 2020 in North America's Cup. So it's his third full season of sliding. Long toe drag there, and then big early height, and the pressure then, yeah, that's ruling you. You can't fight it. Throws him around.
A little bit of a fearless sport if you think about it.
Yep. Yeah, got to take the hits.
Love you guys. God bless you. That's my boy Nick behind the mic today.
Hey, Johnny. Appreciate you, my man.
Well, talking about Nicks, here's Nick Timmings, one of 2 brothers who slid for Australia in the World Cup. His last World Cup race was in January 2022 in St. Moritz. His debut was in Lake Placid in January 2015. So great to see the Aussie back, 496.
Happy Australia Day as well.
Yeah, 26th of January, so they'll be hopefully going to bed now, back home in Perth, Western Australia.
Yeah, he said his partner Bonnie would be watching, as well as they actually have a pet cockatoo named Stanley.
Nice. Self-crested cocky, I expect. So 4/10 back, top 30 run for Nick Timmings. Not sure what Dean is doing these days. The boys both from Australian, Japanese parentage, so they confuse everybody by having an Oka twang and then speaking fluent Japanese.
Not a bad line.
26 best speed. Creeping towards Kim Ji-soo in 25th, not quite enough, 52.57.
Kim is still in the second run.
So World Cup best, 19th place in Altenburg. And today, currently, 29th spot. Good to see him back in the World Cup, though. Raced here in Europa Cup just a couple of weeks ago.
Water the plants, Bonnie.
Water the plants, Bonnie.
Yeah. I think there's been a bit of Swan Lager got through in Western Australia today. 15th World Cup start only since 2015.
What a vibrant soul this man is.
Yeah. Yeah, so much fun to hang around Nick and Dean Timmings.
The coffee wasn't strong enough this morning, apparently.
Fun fact for you, Martin, I actually shared a cup of coffee with him this morning.
All right, 3 to go and 3 first-time World Cup starters. 23-year-old from Chinese Taipei, Peng Lingwei, 20th in the Youth Olympic Games here in 2016. And was racing in the Europe Cup just a couple of weeks ago on the track, 497 getaway. This is our second slider from Chinese Taipei making their debut in the World Cup this season. And again, that shows that a country with very little alpine heritage has got a strong program going, that they've actually got 2 athletes at this standard.
He said he was very excited for this race and excited to represent his country on this global level.
Well, as you know from, the junior levels, if you race in North America Cup, in Europe Cup, or even in ICC, there's no TV, there's none of the yada yada, getting your headshots done and all the other stuff. So it must feel like a bit of an alien experience as well. Even though he's been here for 3 weeks, the 3rd week suddenly changes dramatically. 53.49, so 34th at the moment. And I would assume that Lucas Defaye, who is a further 5 seconds back, will probably end up as our 37th slider at the end of the run. If not, somebody's going to have an even more dramatic day. Peng Lingwei makes his debut for Chinese Taipei. So another of our 2016 Youth Olympians. He finished in 20th in the field in Youth Skeleton. So 4 of our field were 20% of the 2016 Youth Olympic team or crew of sliders. Another debutant, Eloy Fernandez from Cantabria in northern Spain. He's been here in the Junior Worlds just 3 weeks ago and Europe Cup a couple of weeks ago, so he's been camped out in Norway since the beginning of January. 5:01 the getaway.
Vamos, Eloy.
Another of the young Spanish kids who have been brought on by Mark Wood, the development coach. And now turns his attention to a new group of Japanese sliders. So Eloy's sister also slides. Family have a restaurant, had a restaurant. They're now opening a bakery. Coaches water polo in the summer.
14, losing even more speed now.
32nd best at the start, 34th on the splits at the moment. And across the line makes his World Cup debut successfully, 53.38. So onwards and upwards from here. First race was in Whistler. Talk about in at the deep end. In November 2022. So still very new to sliding.
Sliding on a Richard Bromley sled.
Well, And the Mirambel was a Bromley slider all his career. No surprise that that relationship is keeping the Spanish team on Bromleys. He was here in October as well. And for those of you of a slightly different generation to me who have downloaded TikTok, you might find quite a lot of stuff.
I was just going to say, there's social media. Team Spain's social media is really hitting the sliding world.
Yep. Some of his TikTok posts have had more than 3 million views. And finally, it's Ryan Kuhn of Canada, 21 years of age, one of our youngest sliders, 14th in the Youth Olympics, not here in 2016, in Samoritz in 2020. 4.74, that is an exceptional start.
He has such a bright future in the sport. One heck of a starter.
Joe Cicchini, the new coach of the Canadian skeleton program this season, was saying that he really wants to make sure that everybody who's qualified gets an opportunity to start World Cup and see what it's like, rebuilding the program. Sixth fastest starter out to 21st place. It's him or Kim Ji-soo of Korea. Kim with a load more experience. This might be very close.
Nice line out of 13, Ryan.
Clean exit, decent speed. I think Kim is going to make it in. He's got 37 more World Cups experience. He does make it. 27th for Ryan Kuhn, 52.32 slide. But with a start like that and early career experience in World Cup, we might see a lot more of this young man.
Once he gets those repetitions under his belt, he's going to be a problem.
So good, strong start. 6th at the start and ending up just a couple of hundredths away. What was he? He was 18 hundredths out of the race. Again, each tiny little toe drag, each tiny little correction that you make is another few hundreds drifted out of your pace. So that is our first heat done and dusted. Kim Ji-soo in 25th just makes it in, but are we on the way to seeing a new first-time winner? Felix Seibel is tied for the lead with Olympic silver medalist Axel Jung. And again, we have 23 hundredths of a second covering the top 9. Given the relative lack of knowledge on this track, Amadeo Banyas up could easily be in the medals. And actually, if the Brits can do anything to adjust the lack of speed lower down in the sleds, maybe Jacob Salisbury, Chen Wenhao, Matt Weston, 34 hundredths back, maybe they could be a top 6 factor as well. Outside the top 12, Sammy Meyer, 6th place here in the Youth Olympic Games in 2016. He's just a few hundreds behind Weston and ahead of start record holder Craig Thompson. We got within 100th of our track record. Start record looks like it might be fairly safe. We're 800ths away from that, but we'll wait and see what the second and deciding heat brings. And outside the top 25, Livio Sumamata, new boy Ryan Kuhn, Colin Freeling, Hunter Williams, and the rest of them will be watching the second heat trackside. That will be up at 10:55 local, 9:55 GMT, 04:55 Eastern. Good morning, Ken. And that is in, it's 10:25 now, 20 minutes, like half an hour. We will see you then. Till then, from myself and Nick Tucker, thanks for joining us. Join us for the second heat. Looks like it should be a real humdinger of a return to Lillehammer.